Speed! I am speed! No, I wouldn't quote here the catchphrase of Lightning McQueen from Cars as the beginning of this episode, but why not though? Ka-chow! Nascar! Just hearing that name, you can almost smell the burning rubber, hear the engines rumble, and see the crowd go wild. For decades, NASCAR's been all about speed, but recently, something has changed. These cars, they're slowing down. But why? Buckle up and let's rewind the tape and hit the highlights of NASCAR's speed highs and eventual slowdown. And by the way, folks, if you enjoy our content, don't be shy to drop a like on this video and turn your notifications on our posts. All done? Thanks. Let's roll. I think a string of events that happened in the late 1980s and early 2000s played a big role in slowing down. Let's keep it chronological. I'll take you on a trip to 1987. During the Winston 500 at Talladega, Bobby Allison's car suddenly decided it wanted to take flight after a tire failure. It became airborne and crashed into the catch fence, sending debris flying like confetti at a wedding. Miraculously, no one got seriously hurt, but this crash was a huge wake-up call for NASCAR. They realized they couldn't keep allowing cars to gain speed on super speedways without risking a catastrophic disaster. And let's face it, no one wants to see a car do a stunt that would make Evel Knievel jealous. Am I right? And NASCAR started to think. As a result of their headache, I guess, they introduced restrictor plates at super speedways like Daytona and Talladega in 1988. Now, if you're wondering what a restrictor plate is, it limits the airflow into the engine, reducing horsepower and capping those wild top speeds. Yeah, I guess drivers couldn't reach the dizzying heights of speed they used to with them, but the racing still remained thrilling. Those restrictor plates were very important for the sport, I think. They created the pack-style racing we know today, where we can still catch cars zooming along at a crazy 190 miles per hour. Now, while restrictor plates were great for super speedways, NASCAR's intermediate tracks like Charlotte and Atlanta were still seeing speed skyrocket into the future. So I guess there was a lot to think about in case of slowing down. The days of 200 mile per hour speeds were far from over. Sadly, all of it led to the pivotal moments of these events. Let me fast forward for a bit. It's the 2001 Daytona 500. The tension is palpable. The crowd is roaring. And then, disaster strikes. Dale Earnhardt Sr., one of the sport's biggest legends, tragically lost his life in a crash on the final lap. It's tragic for a sport we all know. And NASCAR asked themselves once again, what can we do to prevent this from happening again? To prevent sport from tragic deaths of drivers, in 2007, NASCAR introduced the Car of Tomorrow. I know, sounds fancy, but what about the safety? The COT became a standard of the car making scene, including a higher roof, a wider cockpit, and energy-absorbing foam around the driver's seat, with a task of wrapping the driver in a cozy, protective bubble. And I guess this is the moment when things start to feel different. The COT changed how the cars handled on the track. Racing became a little more stable, I guess, but the drivers started to find themselves cruising through the corners rather than drifting like a maniac. Plus rep for safety, minus rep for entertainment. And NASCAR weren't all done just on COT. I'll talk about the recent past. It's 2015. NASCAR decided it was time for another major overhaul. To reduce costs and boost safety even further, NASCAR lowered engine horsepower from 850 to 750, and then to 550 at some tracks. What's the logic, you'll ask? I know it's obvious, but still, less horsepower means less speed, less heartbreaking crashes. And I guess with the lower horsepower, drivers found their cars a bit easier to handle, but passing on certain tracks became trickier. And then the final nail in the head, I guess? In 2019, when NASCAR rolled out a new aero package to further slow things down, this package featured an impressive 8-inch spoiler. Yes, folks, I'm talking 8 inches of aerodynamic glory. This beast generated tons of downforce, affectionately gluing the car to the track. While this made for more stable racing, it also meant that speeds at intermediate tracks like Michigan and Charlotte dropped closer to 180 miles an hour instead of the 190 plus we'd seen in previous years. I already told you about the COT's whole purpose, safety. But it didn't just influence the safety aspect, it made the difference even in a car design, as it was a whole new standard of construction for engineers. Don't worry, I'll guide you through. Before 2007, teams had the freedom to modify their cars to gain an edge, leading to some wild creations, like the infamous Twisted Sister cars of the early 2000s. Crazy naming if you ask me, and I guess the whole point of these wild designs was to squeeze out the maximum amount of speed from the car. With COT arriving at the scene, the days of speed maxing were gone. I find it as a very important step towards safety and stability. The teams with the COT standard were kind of limited. As a result of new standards of car design, something new was born. I'll introduce you to the Gen 6 car, a beauty of engineering made in 2013. From now on, cars are made with the largest splitters and spoilers, allowing them to generate some serious downforce. I think in the long run, it helped the cars with traction and stability at high speeds, but it created another headache for the drivers, dirty air problem, which is about as fun as it sounds. So, what's dirty air? Imagine this. You're behind a car that's moving fast, and all of that turbulent air coming off the back is wreaking havoc on your aerodynamic flow. All of it happening because of Gen 6 standards. The car is stuck more to the ground, and as you guessed right, this has become a major headache in NASCAR. When a car is stuck in another's wake, it loses downforce very, very fast, making it nearly impossible to pass. But for some drivers, dirty air was not a problem after all. It became their ace in the hole. One memorable moment came to my mind. It's 2020, race at Kansas Speedway. Joey Logano put on a masterclass in dirty air management, holding off a faster Kevin Harvick for the final 30 laps. Going back to Cars reference, remember that scene where the bad guy Chick Hicks was blocking the protagonist McQueen in a race for a long time? Yep, I guess something like that. Even though Harvick had the speed, Logano's mastery of the aerodynamic game meant that he was like a kid with a cookie jar. No way he's letting anyone get close enough to take the sweet prize. As a result of this issue, we often see a lot of follow the leader style racing, especially at those intermediate tracks. Seem kind of annoying, don't you agree? And I guess to solve the dirty air problem and to make races more interesting, NASCAR in 2022 created the modified Gen 7 standard. Thank God! I'll talk tech. With a lower profile rear wing and a simplified aerodynamic package, it aims to reduce the impact of turbulent air and encourage more thrilling passes. But still, doing good on intermediate ovals, Gen 7 sadly struggled on short tracks and road courses. I think all of it was because horsepower made it tough for drivers to build momentum. Another special feature of Gen 7 was the move towards spec parts. The boss of NASCAR now mandates that many parts, from suspension components to wheels, must be identical for all teams. Equality and all that, you know? While this helped trim the budget, it also stifled innovation and tied the team's hands. Because the glory days of teams crafting custom parts, aka Pimp My Ride for the competition edge, are mostly gone, along with the creativity that made NASCAR so exciting in the past. You'll ask, where's the fun in that? But maybe the horsepower remained the same. Nope, I'll put it bluntly. The heads of NASCAR decided to switch to a 670 horsepower engine package for most tracks. It was up a bit to the 2019-2020 standards, but I guess it's a far cry from the roaring 850 horsepower that made the NASCAR races legendary. Isn't it a party pooper, huh? Because with less power under the hood, today's cars simply can't hit those dizzying speeds of yesteryear. And there you have it. Not so complex now, isn't it? I'll move on. How did the fans react to these changes? The NASCAR fan base. A passionate group that's never shy about voicing their opinions. As the speeds have dropped, a divide has emerged that's more noticeable than a pit crew's oil slick. Fans all across the world, with all of the changes, notice that races are becoming more predictable, resembling a thrilling drive to the nearest mall more than a NASCAR showdown. Fewer lead changes? Yawn. Less on-track action? Double yawn. I guess all of it influenced the NASCAR's TV ratings too. In 2022, we saw a glimmer of hope with a 5-year high in viewership, but just like a race car losing its grip, those numbers took a nosedive in 2023. Races like the Daytona 500 and Talladega, historically major draws if you ask me, have seen viewers drop off faster than a driver exiting a pit stop. Sure, the absence of fan favorites like Chase Elliott might be a part of it, but let's be real. Slower speeds and less excitement are probably driving some fans away very fast. And I can't forget about the presentation. NASCAR has been struggling to keep pace with modern broadcasting trends, while Formula One has been busy revving up its popularity through engaging content like Netflix's Drive to Survive. I'm talking 6.8 million viewers on platform, according to data from 2023. That's 90 million viewing hours. NASCAR? What can you offer in return? The thrilling commercial pit lane, with fans grumbling about the endless parade of ads that disrupt the racing action? Sounds like no fun to me. While NASCAR is only dipping its toes into streaming platforms like Peacock and YouTube TV, they've got some serious catching up to do if they want to match F1's seamless, commercial-free viewing experience. Let's be real, no one likes ads. And in that case, watching a race while someone keeps hitting the pause button is truly frustrating. So we figured out how NASCAR is slowing down not only on a track, but even in its own development. And I ask myself, where exactly NASCAR is headed next? Much like a driver approaching a hairpin turn, the sport is at a crucial crossroads. What's your point on this hot topic? Let me know. And as usual, don't forget to leave a like and hit the notifications bell on our channel. Till then, bye-bye for now. Ka-chow.